had mastered the arts and the sciences. He knew the course of the stars in the universe.
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day
Jason Kidd calls it the best play I've seen. Here's one more look. This guy's 7'2", right over top of him. Look at it again.
Who are you? You don't know. Don't tell me Negro. That's nothing. What were you before the white man named you a Negro? And where were you? And what did you have? What was yours? What language did you speak then? What was your name? It couldn't have been Smith or Jones or Bunch or Powell. That wasn't your name. They don't have those kind of names where you and I came from. No, what was your name? And why don't you now know what your name was then? Where did it go? Where did you lose it? Who took it? And how did he take it? What tongue did you speak? How did the man take your tongue? Where is your history? How did the man wipe out your history? How did the man, what did the man do to make you as dumb as you are right now?
At last. Please, come, sit.
Throughout the history of this country, the majority of us have believed that we were from Africa. I'm not going to start with that discussion tonight because most likely the reason you're here is because you already know we're not from Africa and that in fact this is our land.
We are not Africans, and we're not African Americans.
Who are you? You don't know.
One of the presidents, whose name was Elias Boudinot, wrote a book called A Star in the West. And he talked about the native people who were here and how they were the lost tribes of Israel.
Yes, this is Al Moroccan.
And he talked about how they had the Bible in America prior to the Europeans.
Who are you?
The information about this lost tribes of Israel history.
Now, how did the Moors become known as Africans?
This lost tribes of Israel history.
We are not Africans.
Who are you? You don't know.
A Roman general was fighting the Barker Bay family, which you know as Hannibal, Hasdrubal, etc.
Where is your history?
So they had to burn books, reconstruct history.
After the Catholic monarchs took over the city of Granada, they began to destroy all evidence. This was an astonishing act of ethnic cleansing. It is an incredible story, but one that has been systematically written out of history.
Where did it go? Where did you lose it? Who took it? And how did he take it?
Hasdrubal, etc. When they defeated him, he poisoned himself rather than give up, by the way. Anyway, when they defeated them, he put his name on the northwest coast of Gibelan, or Tameri. Tameri, that's called Africa today. You understand? Not the continent. Near Tunis, Algiers, what you call Morocco, the kingdom. You understand? Kingdom is subordinate to empire. That area, just that part, was called Africanus, after Scipio, the god general. All right? Who's given the honor for defeating the great Moors. They weren't totally defeated. That was that area. All right? Now you got to also look at these. I'm giving you different points of history so that you can look into them and see yourself and see the motives of how you got where you are. So these Moors became known as Africans, and a lot of Moors even today thinking that they're going back to their bloodlines, talking about we're Africans. Well, they're not Africans. They're Moors. All right? Is that clear?
Because it's all related to this Moorish Israelite history going all the way back to Kemet. Am I confusing anyone?
And so you have Moors who think that they came from Kemet on the other side, although we're the same bloodline. That's not our home. Our home is here.
Propaganda, sparked by the Crusades, has given us an enduring image. The diabolical Moor, a dark-skinned, savage, alien enemy. But this character is a complete invention and tells us nothing about who these people really were.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice. Tumbling down the rabbit hole?
This is his quote. Again, the book is A Star in the West by Elias Boudinot. And his quote is, he's talking about the Lenape, or the Nanticoke Moors. It is said amongst their principal or beloved men that they have it handed down from their ancestors that the book which the white people have was once dead. Now, the book that they're talking about is the Bible. Now, again, I'm telling you, the Bible is the history of the most ancient lineage on earth, which is this Moorish or Israelite history. A black history, or Israel, meaning the people of Osiris. Okay? It goes all the way back to ancient Nubia.
The fact is not new. The fact is ancient. You cannot be other than who your ancient mothers and fathers are. I don't care how much you fake it. Our violations of those divine principles cause our fall. Isonomy is the principle of equal rights and service to all the citizens in society. By us violating those laws, we fell.
Let me tell you why you're here.
We know from the Bible that the Israelites arrived in Egypt some 200 years before their exodus. In the original Hebrew, the Bible calls the Israelites God's people, or Amo Israel, for the arrival of these Amo around 1700 BCE. Kilometers south of Avaris is the tomb at Beni Hassan. It dates to 1700 BCE. Because no one has looked for evidence of the Exodus in this period, the tomb has never been linked to the biblical story. Into Egypt from the area of modern Israel. Riding donkeys and bringing their families and flocks into Egypt. Like the biblical Israelites, they are wearing multicolored tunics. The hieroglyphic inscription on this wall calls these people the Amo, God's people. Looking in the right place, during the right time, we are the first to recognize a veritable snapshot of the migration of the biblical Israelites to Egypt.